All right, so angle, side, angle, and angle, angle, side, right? These are the next two that we're going to talk about. All right, we'll talk about one more that deals with just right triangles in a couple days, but this will be basically the four we talked about are the main four we use. So angle, side, angle, right? Kind of works the same, similar way as side, angle, side in the fact that we have to go in the same order. And we talk about the included side now instead of the included angle. Right? So basically we have two sides, or two angles, and the included side are congruent.
Whoa, what a surprise.
To two angles and the included side of another triangle.
Wait.
Congruent. Right? So, remember, angle, side, angle. That side has to be in between the two angles. Okay? So if I were to write the congruent statement as triangle CBA, how would I have to name the other triangle so it's in the same order?
F-E-D.
F-E-D. Yeah. So F-E-D. All right. Angle, angle, side. This one we have to pay a close attention to a few things. Gentlemen. So, angle, angle, side, right? Says that if two angles, and here's the key to this, in the non-included side, right? Two angles in the non-included side are congruent
What a magical word.
to the angles in the corresponding side.
Wow, so magical.
Then the triangles are congruent. Mind your seat. All right, so let's talk about what we mean by corresponding side. So if I look here, right, AC and DF, it's not in between the two angles, right? But the question is, how do I tell if it's the corresponding side? I need to look at what angle it's across from, right? So this AC is across from what angle? B, right? And then DF is across from what angle? E. So how I tell if those are corresponding is if those two angles are congruent, then that's corresponding, right? And B and E are congruent. So they have to be across from the same angle. Right? So I could say, right, triangle BAC is congruent. How would I name that one to get it the same order? EDF. Okay, so those are the two we're using today. On your homework today, you're not going to use the other two, right? These are your only options today. So,
Someone in the middle school that wants to harm people.
talk about later. So, same kind of examples, right?
Yes.
What are the first two things I'm always going to look for?
Angle.
What kind of angle?
No. I don't know. What kind of angle do we look for?
Nick, what kind of angle do we look for?
Vertical angles.
Vertical angles and
Shared sides.
shared sides. Do I have that in this first group of triangles? No.
No.
So what? Then I would ask yourself, what do I know? Right?
F and T are the same.
So I know that I have at least one pair of congruent angles. Do I have another pair?
Yes.
D and A, right? And do I have a pair of congruent sides?
Yes.
Yes. So now, right, I still have both options available. I look at where does that side fall, right? Are the congruent sides in between the angles? Yeah, that's the included side. So this one has to be yes by what? Yeah, right. Angle, side, angle. So that one's angle, side, angle because the side is in between the two angles. Okay. So look at the other one. Right? So Bryce thinks it's angle, angle, side. Let's kind of dissect that and see why that works. We talked about that yesterday.
I know we did.
So
That's a swear word.
Can you shut up?
What is wrong with you? He talked back to me. So I look here, right? I have two congruent angles and a congruent side. So I need to ask, are these sides in between the angles?
No. Any degree on the right.
No.
Yeah.
But are they across from the same angle?
Yeah.
Yes. So this one's going to be yes. Angle, angle, side.
Oh, told you. Yeah, told you.
So when we're given stuff like this, where it says given, and they list some information and prove they're congruent, what's the first thing I need to do here?
Draw a triangle. That's only right.
Check for vertical angles and chord.
Oh, I thought that was only way to draw a triangle.
So before I check for vertical angles and shared sides, what do I need to do?
Make sure what's given is marked.
Make sure what's given is labeled, right? So I look and say, is it labeled that BAC is congruent to DAC? BAC.
Yes.
Yeah, right? That tells me that those are congruent? Okay, good. AC is, what does this little symbol mean? Perpendicular, right? Which means things meet at what? 90-degree angle. So I look and say AC and BD, does that show it right, meets at a right angle? Yes. So one other thing, if you need to, right, what do you know about this angle? It's going to be 90, right? If you need to label that, label it so you know, right? Might be helpful. So now I look for and say, do I have shared sides or vertical angles? What do I have? Shared sides. So I label that. So now I know two angles and a side. So it's going to be angle, side, angle. Let's talk about why. Right? Where is the side?
In the middle.
Oh, it's in the middle.
It's in the middle of the angles, right? So this one is going to be yes, angle, side, angle.